Hey everybody, William here, and today we're talking with our friend Payton, and I just need to let you know that if you have small children listening, this might be one you just want to talk to them about maybe, or you might want to listen to first. But there's a fantastic journey we're going to take here. There's addiction, there's mental health, there's abuse. So thank you for sharing your story, Payton. Hey everybody, William here, and
Sarah,
and
Payton.
All right, woo! All right, so where were you born, and where did you grow up? And
I
tell me about
was
that.
born in St. Louis Park at Methodist Hospital.
Ooh,
right.
nice.
SLP.
And then my mom and Larry lived in Brooklyn Park, I believe it was.
Okay.
And then when they got divorced, we moved out to Florida, and that is actually where I consider my home.
Is Tampa?
Is Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm sure my sister has said that before.
Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily consider Minnesota our growing up place.
Right.
So grew up down in Florida, came back here when my mom moved us back up here. And we moved.
Whoa. You see, all of a sudden, how many years did you live in Florida?
Oh.
When did you,
Good
how old
question.
were you when you moved to Florida?
Ask my mom.
I'm asking you.
Can I phone a friend?
There's no lifelines. You figure this shit out or we're not leaving.
I think it was when I was 3, maybe
Okay,
4.
so a young pup still.
Yeah, very, very
Hence,
young.
the reason dates might not
We
be
have an
as
idea,
known.
3 or 4-ish.
Okay.
We're
Yep.
there.
Yep.
We're there. So then when you get to Florida, like what's like one of the first things you remember down there?
Private school.
Okay? Tell me about that.
Oh, uniforms?
Yeah, uniforms. And on Fridays, I refused to wear my uniform, and I was often sent home.
Every Friday?
Usually, yeah,
Why?
because I didn't want to wear my uniform.
But on Friday specifically.
I don't know. Seems
Casual
like
Friday.
Casual Friday. I'm sure.
I'm bringing it back.
I'm sure in my head I was like, "Ooh, long weekend."
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but
At what age were you started to become a little asshole?
the day I was born.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
I mean,
well,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Jory would say the day I was born.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay. I'm going to accept that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next
Will,
question.
what day did you become an asshole?
It was dramatic. We're going to moving on.
August 11th, 1980.
Yeah, that's in the year 1980. That's when I was born. I just assume everybody's my age. It's easier. Okay, so we're in Florida. We're at a private school.
Mm-hmm.
Because how long were you there?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Like, did you do middle school
This
in
is
Minnesota?
this is a riveting interview. I'm so glad you know what's going on.
I did middle school in Minnesota.
Okay.
I went back home every summer to stay with my aunt and niece.
Got it.
Yeah. So I mean, if it was middle school, let's see. My mom got married again when I was 10, so it was before then.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
about like 6, 7 years.
Yeah, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Was there anything good that came out of Florida?
My aunt Denise.
Okay, tell us
Yeah.
about her.
So her and my mom met down at the beach one night. That's her story to tell. And Aunt Denise became quickly like a mother figure to us, along with my mom. She helped my mom raise us because she was a single mom. She was a police officer down on Fort Myers Beach, and so she's.
Our conversation previously now is making way more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, keep
Yeah.
going.
So she was a police officer down on the beach. She has always been like my hero.
Yeah.
I love that woman.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get back to her.
And
I
we
have a
learned
feeling.
about Denise through
Yeah.
like through Jory and through your mom and what a special person like she is
Yeah.
and was.
Yeah.
And I love the every time I hear her name, I literally am like, well, what if I fly? Like
Yeah.
I think of that like quote that
Yep.
seems to be very like relative to her.
Yeah. That's our family.
Am I
motto.
going too far, Will?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, wait, it's the third interview with your family. There's going to be some, it's fine. It's okay. I mean, we're going
But
to have to get your
usually
kids
you're
on
like-
here,
Usually you're like, slow down, Sarah. You're going too fast.
No, it's okay. I mean, like, it was a little foreshadowing.
oh foreshadowing.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're being a rebel in elementary school because that's what we do, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden we come back to Minnesota, and we're in middle school, and we met this great aunt and niece down there. So what's going on now in middle school, and where are you at up here?
We moved to Bloomington when we came back to Minnesota. My mom got married to a gentleman.
Yeah, we can. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah.
I will not name names. And we moved out to Eden Prairie, and that is where I went to middle school. Was out there. He had a son who, his son and I were two peas in a pod. We were very, very close. And yeah, I went to middle school.
At Central Middle School?
Yeah, CMS.
Okay, so what type? What age? Was that 6th, 7th, 8th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 7th, and 8th?
Central Middle School I was there for 7th and then half of 8th. Because then they got divorced, my mom and this person, and we moved back to Bloomington. So middle of 8th grade, I moved to, I don't even remember what the middle school out there was called.
Okay, so I just want to keep this story straight because I think I know where this is going, but we'll just let the natural flow of things happen. So we're born.
There's just a lot of transition already.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I just want to kind of
It's a web.
yeah, we're born in St. Louis Park.
Yep.
Life happens. We end up down in Florida in the Tampa. All right. And then life happens. We come back to Bloomington.
Yep.
Life happens. We're in Eden Prairie.
Yep.
Life happens. We move back to Bloomington.
Correct.
We're all of 13 at this time.
Correct.
Okay.
Wow, you nailed that. Yeah.
I've heard the story before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So 13-year-old you, a lot of stuff going on. What's going on in your world at that time?
A lot of confusion. Being 13 is tough as is. I never want to be.
Middle school sucks.
Oh my
regardless.
God.
Yeah.
Middle schoolers are evil, man.
And they're mean.
Oh.
Yes.
So, a lot of confusion, a lot of trying to figure out what I was telling myself and what was true and what was not true. And that is really when I started.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Telling
I was gonna go into it.
Oh, you were? So
yeah.
I just totally just like stole your thunder there.
Yeah.
Touchdown call.
Wow.
Flag on the play.
Are you done? Okay. Yeah.
So at that time, I really wanted a relationship with my father. And I wasn't understanding why I wasn't getting that. So I had fed myself the story that you're obviously not worthy of having that relationship. And with that, the gentleman that was my stepfather at the time was not very nice. And so that just really amplified that voice of you're not worthy. You don't deserve to have healthy relationships. This is who men are. All men are like this, and this is what's acceptable. And I clearly remember taking like a handful of Benadryl because I was like, it's not worth it. You're not worthy. You need to feel some other way. So at 11 years old is when I started drinking. I remember like going and stealing a cigarette from like my mom's pack of cigarettes when she did smoke, and just trying to feel something else other than what I was feeling, because it was like you have friends that are like, oh, you're amazing. I love you. You deserve the world. And, I had a mom who was also like, you deserve anything you put your mind to, you can do. Don't let people tell you can't. And for some reason, I couldn't listen to that. It was not something that was going to be a part of me.
Yeah.
And that is just how I identified was, this is who I am. I'm not worth being loved. I am stupid for ABC. And so, yeah, that's what I fed myself from a very young age, starting at like 11.
Because at that point, because when you have that many transitions in life.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard to like connect with friends? Is it hard to connect with like plant roots anywhere?
I think during the time that I didn't have like the coping skills to recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, yes, I would say it was very hard to allow people in and trust me, and for me to trust other people because I was going to be gone
Yeah.
in 2 years. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And that is to no fault of anybody. Like, in no way, shape, or form did my mom want that for me. You know, she did everything she could possibly do with all the resources she had to give me the life that she knew I deserved. And that's still to this day. So it was just the cards that we were dealt. Like, I hate that saying because, like, everybody's dealt different cards, but those were the cards that we were dealt, and that's what we had to deal with. But no matter what, like, it was always me, my mom, and my sister. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. It was always us. Like, we always had each other. It didn't matter what came our way. We always had each other. And us three, we can yell and scream at each other, but before we walk out a door, we're going to tell each other that we love each other. You know, we're going to put it to rest. That's just how we've always been as a unit.
All right. So I want to, any point in time, you just tell me to pound sand, but I'll just ask, I'll just keep asking questions.
Oh, that wasn't for me.
This is going well.
This was rehearsed.
Yeah. Okay. How do I how do I take Sarah out of this footage? All right. We'll go. Yeah. All right. So at 11, you started consuming alcohol.
Yeah.
Stealing cigarettes, like I'd say relatively common things for teenagers to do.
Yeah.
Not necessarily 11-year-olds.
Correct.
And then, when you say took a handful of Benadryl, were you trying to commit suicide?
Yeah.
At the age of 13?
That was before 13.
Okay.
That was like 11, 12. Yeah.
Okay. What was the family response to that?
They never knew.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even remember if I told my mom that in therapy. So surprise, Mom. I'm sorry.
I don't want to be around when she listens to this. I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Your mother's wonderful.
My mom knows my story.
Yeah.
I have been very honest with my mom ever since I got clean. There's no point to hide anything.
So, took some Benadryl with the intent of killing yourself. Thankfully, that obviously didn't happen.
Correct.
When you woke up from that experience, what was going through your head?
I actually remember it was a cold day, and I had missed the bus to school. And I called my mom, and she was like, well, you better get walking. So I walked to school, and the whole way to school, I just kept feeding that information to myself of, this is dumb. I don't know why you're still here.
The self-doubt, the self-hate, this isn't worth it. Whatever was going through your head at that time, you just kept playing that over and over and over as you're walking to school after you just tried to end your life.
Yep.
And your mom said, well, she didn't know, obviously, but she's like...
She had no idea.
But she
just thought I slept in and that like I was being irresponsible.
I could be your mom being like, well, get the F up and start walking. You got 2 feet, right? Yeah, that's totally your mom. That's awesome. Okay, so you get to school that day. Do you tell anybody?
No.
You just life continues at that point.
Life continued.
Okay. We're 11 or 12. And what's the next thing that was a kind of a big moment for you? Like, was it much longer? Not much longer?
I would say the next like huge memory I have was my mom and I were driving home. She was still married at this point. We were driving home.
And that was a horrible situation.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Not cool, but cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all of us have our own stories with that. And in no way, shape, or form do I want to impose somebody's character.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
So I remember driving home from, I don't remember what event we were at, but I looked at my mom and I said, I'm done. I'm not going home. And that night she told that man that she wanted a divorce. And it was the happiest day of my life. At that point.
All right.
Yeah.
So where did you go?
We went to, I call her Aunt Sue. She's
Another
we're not
friend?
blood related.
Yeah.
She's just another one of my female supports at the time.
Yeah.
So we went over to her house. My mom and I literally packed up her Pontiac G5 two-door and listened to the song that had that verse in it.
Like a G6.
Yeah. Get out. And I had a basset hound at the time. Her name was Molly. And she, like, had her head out the window. I had, like, all this crap on me in the front seat because we were just trying to get out as fast as possible. Yeah. And so we went to Aunt Sue's house, and Aunt Sue welcomed us with open arms. And we lived there until my mom could get back up on her feet and get her own place.
Okay, so everything's great for the rest of your life since then.
Oh, yeah, peachy keen. You
Yeah,
know, unicorns, rainbows.
So we can leave now.
Podcast over.
Yeah,
Podcast over.
Podcast over.
Yeah.
Okay. So no, it's not.
No.
Okay, so
Not
move it.
even
Yeah.
close.
And so at this point, when you're in with Aunt Sue, it's you and your mom, and is Jory at this point with?
She's with my dad.
Okay, because
She's been with my dad, or our dad, I should say, since she was 16.
Okay.
Yeah. So she moved out. She was not having the significant others.
At the time. But she was also a little bit older.
Yeah.
Because is she 4 years older?
6.
6 years older? Okay. So so she's 16, you're 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
She, like, moved out when they got married. She just, I mean, kudos to her.
Yeah. Okay.
Out.
All right. So
it's already like so heavy. Like just as like someone that knows you now to even just know this like little piece of the pie
Yeah.
of like your life.
and you're 27.
Yeah, I'm 27.
Yeah. See, I just assumed you were older because you're just a very responsible person that I know.
Yeah.
Like you carry yourself very differently than a 27-year-old would.
It's not unusual that people think I'm older.
Now I'm like, yeah, she's like 53. I'm just kidding. I'm doing really well today.
This is terrible.
Sometimes I feel like my joints are 53.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I don't know how I ever landed you.
Okay,
with all
so
these
you're
smooth
in
lines.
Bloomington, and Aunt Sue lives in Bloomington.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, so that's how you get back to Bloomington.
Yeah.
This all makes sense now.
Yep.
All right, so now we're living there, and
I mean, attempting middle school like halfway through 8th grade.
Yeah, and the
Super
girls
easy.
there were just so kind.
yeah, I mean they're your bestest friends ever to this day now.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk us through that. I mean, we're literally 13, 14 years old now. We've already had a shit ton of shit, and what's going on now?
So I was 13. And I remember trying so hard to make friends at the new middle school. I was like, this is a fresh start. I can be whoever I want to be. And that failed. Because in my mind, you know, my sister went to Bloomington and she was a cheerleader, very well liked. And I wanted to be that. And at the time, I did whatever I had to do to be that. So I joined the cheer team, not well equipped for that at all. There's authority there. And at the time I was like, I just got out of an authoritative situation. This is not where I'm trying to be.
Good luck, Busters.
Yeah. So I was not friends with those girls, but I did meet some pretty great friends, who I still do consider friends to this day. That's
awesome. That's very good.
They have been with me my whole journey. They have never turned a cheek to me. They have always supported me. And so I was in with like the misfits crowd.
Oh yeah.
But they were the best. I mean, they were awesome. So I made friends with them. Freshman year of high school, I was still in Bloomington. And my mom met my dad, Tim.
Gosh, that's so wild to hear, like, how old you were through the story.
Compared to what Jory was.
Because when you think about that, when you're a freshman, it's like, he is
He's my dad.
He's your dad.
Yeah. And you'll hear me later on in the story reference other people as mom and dad. We'll get to that. But I am very grateful to have multiple sets of parents. At the time, as a teenager, I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right, so in school, how are we doing grade-wise? I'm just curious.
I mean, I was happy if I got a C-.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, that's better than what I did. I mean, good, yeah.
I showed up for the day.
C's get degrees.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I had higher expectations being held for me. My sister and my mom are very smart people. And academically, I was just not performing.
Yeah.
Well, you probably didn't care.
I did not care.
No.
Because you're smart. It's just, you didn't care.
The books, I'm just like, no, I don't need to learn Greek mythology. Thank you, though. This is not going to be something I study.
The story of Sisyphus is a really good one.
Only because you went to a brewery.
Yeah.
And you read the story of Sisyphus.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
I have no idea.
It's a Greek god.
yeah, he's not a god, but that's fine.
Well, okay.
All right, cool. All right, this derailed. So we're freshmen. We're going to Bloomington. Bloomington.
Tim enters
Is
your
that
life.
Bloomington Jefferson?
It is.
All right. Mom meets Tim. Now everything's happily ever after, right?
No.
Okay, cool. Moving on. What do you got? What's next?
God bless my dad. He had, before he met my mom, he had never dated anybody with kids. He had never been married to anybody with kids.
Oh, seriously?
I was his first kid.
He came into you and Jory?
At 13 and 19, yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
And he's still here.
Hard pass. So, I love you both, but damn.
Yeah. He came in to me at 13 years old, and he obviously wasn't scared away. He's still here.
Yeah.
But and Jory did everything she could to really make him try to run. He passed every test. And I remember there was one night I was having just a complete mental breakdown. I had lost it. I was done. I made sure everybody knew I was done. My mom called 911 as she should have. They came, and by the next night, my dad had found me a therapist.
When you say done, as in you were going to try and kill yourself again?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I was, I was back in that mental state.
Okay.
And so by the next day, my dad had found not a therapist, a list of therapists for my mom to cross-reference and do her due diligence. And
I know these people. I know.
It wasn't just a list. It was a spreadsheet.
I can see.
it was a spreadsheet with what insurance they accept, what the copay would be, their hours, their
and then
location.
your mom was like, no, yes, no.
Yes.
3 can't. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was matched.
You know exactly. We know them. Yes.
They just are very type A.
We need all
My
types.
mom more than my dad.
Yeah. C's and the disc profile is amazing.
Yeah. So I was matched with a beautiful human being of a therapist. Janet was her name. And she was with me up until I was 17 years old. So,
So 3-4 years.
3-4 years. Yep.
Okay.
I would go see her weekly. She really helped me kind of work through things up until I stopped being honest with her, which was when I was 16. So
Okay. What happened there?
I had gotten into a relationship and it was abusive, and I was scared to tell anybody. This particular person threatened to kill my cat, kill my mom, kill my friends.
And were you the same age, or was he older?
He was older. Yep, he was 3 years older. And my mom had a very, very, very strict rule when I was a teenager that I was not allowed to date anybody more than 2 years older than I was. And at the time, I was like, that makes no sense. That's a dumb rule. Looking back, it's because there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Let me preface with that. When you're a teenager. So,
Well, we all make perfectly sound and logical decisions when we're young.
We are not easily manipulated.
No.
No, we're shaped or formed.
Yes.
And so that relationship was abusive. He did rape me. So I'm going to put a blanket trigger warning out for anybody listening to this. This is where my story plummets. So that happened, and I was terrified to tell anybody. I had a best friend at the time who knew that something was up. She didn't know the whole story of what was going on, but she was like, you need to end it. You need to get out. And so she... I was like, you're right. I do. Some like miracle happened in my brain. And she hid in my trunk of my car while with my back seats down, and we covered her up with like a blanket so he couldn't see her there. But just to make sure I was safe while I was breaking up with him. So.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How old are we at this point?
16.
Okay.
It was right before my 17th birthday.
All right. So then the therapist isn't hearing about this stuff.
No, I didn't tell anybody
Okay.
until I told her. Janet.
Okay.
Until I told Janet. Yep.
So we end this toxic relationship.
Yep.
You've had a lot of experience with these.
And
for being a young person.
At the time, like, I thought that was normal. Like, I thought that was
Right.
a healthy relationship. Because that's all I had experience
Right.
to. I mean, my dad was such an oddball. Like, when I was younger, he'll tell you, I used to call him a goof. Like, he was just, it was weird to me how he, like, was so nice to my mom, made sure we had everything. Like, that was weird.
Right. No,
He's gonna
like,
flip. Like,
Right.
When's the other shoe gonna drop?
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because this isn't real.
Yeah.
Been reeled in.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be destroyed.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So, that relationship that I was in was completely normal to me. Like, that was.
That's what you're just mirroring and modeling.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and I'm really thinking too, like with Janet, like you were with Janet for what, 4 years?
Yeah.
That's besides your mom and your sister, your longest like safe relationship.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. There's a lot going on right now in your life. So how do we keep going forward?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I honestly don't know how I kept pushing through. You know what? I do know. I had made friends senior year. Specifically, there was one gentleman who became like my safeguard. He is an amazing person, in and out. He is with the Navy right now, doing his thing. Like, he's just fabulous. But my mom was like in love with she was like planning our wedding before we even started dating. So I started connecting with, those healthier people. But then that got scary for me because healthy equals scary. So I decided to end friendships with those people and
Logical.
sabotage it.
Yeah.
Which this individual, he knew exactly what I was doing. Like, he's very smart. He's like, no, I know what you're up to. You're sabotaging this. But I didn't give him a chance. I was like, no, I'm good. Thank you for the generosity, but I'm going to go do other stuff. Let me backtrack a little bit. At 15, 16, I started getting into like Adderall, that kind of party scene. More pills. I had my appendix out over in England and was blessed with a nice full script of Vicodin.
Wait a minute. You were in England.
I was.
Yeah.
My mom didn't say this. Oh, yeah. So I was in England with my mom and my dad because my dad's from England.
Tim is from England?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Like,
Yeah.
all of his family lives over there. And so they had gotten married here in the U.S., but then later that year we were going to travel over there so they could have a wedding over there.
Yeah.
And the plane landed and I was like, oh, I don't feel right. And then the next day, like shit went everywhere. Like I was so sick. And European hospitals are not like the United States. And it was really bad.
I'm like, of course you had your appendix out in England.
Yeah. Yep. I call him Dr. Pepe Le Pew. He came in with a shirt buttoned down to like mid chest and just like chest hair spewing out. He had 2 beautiful nurses with him. While in the ER, I had an individual who was suffering. She was drunk and having a schizophrenic episode. She flew through the curtain dividing our room on my bed. So it was
Hashtag anything is possible.
Anything is yes. Yes. You too can have a really messed up experience.
Okay, so you have your appendix out in England.
In England. Yeah, it was an emergency surgery. Yep, I got it out. I missed that wedding because I was in the hospital. And I flew home and...
With your mom and Tim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're still all kind of together. They just left you for a little bit to go get married.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, she had, my dad came to the hospital every day and made sure that I was fine. And then my mom's assistant at the time, her name was Tilly. She also lived over in England. And she was like my care provider. So.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then they write you a nice, healthy script.
Yeah.
Of Vicodin.
Yeah.
Because it's not monitored probably in England the way it is here.
Well, no,
and even at that time,
that
time, I mean, I could go on a tangent here.
Yeah, the opiate industry, but we can't even go down that road. We've watched a documentary on it.
Yes.
We don't have enough time.
Yeah, they weren't monitoring.
No.
And they, in my opinion, still need to do a better
Absolutely.
job. But yeah, there was no legal like anything around it. So
as a kid, how do you know? Because at this point, are you already abusing Adderall?
Yeah.
And other things. So you know, like this is, in essence, like gold.
Yeah, it's gonna make me feel different.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. And I have had a lot of surgeries in my life for how young I am. A lot of oral surgeries because I had teeth growing through like the roof of my mouth. So at a young age, I did learn like you take this, you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was associated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. We're senior year. The good people in your life you kick out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, quote unquote, hanging out with the misfits. Nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
We graduate high school. What's going on in your world then?
Oh boy. So senior year of high school, I started dating somebody. Him and I dated for a while. And he, up until I was honest with him when I got clean, he had no idea what I was doing. I was very good at like feeding a story that I knew needed to happen in order to keep something that I wanted. So he had no idea what I was doing. He actually, the summer before we went to college, he was going out to Colorado. I was staying in Minnesota, going down Winona. We had the classic conversation of like, what are we doing? And he was like, well, let's just try it out. And I agreed. Before he moved out to Colorado, he actually moved in to my mom's house with us. Cool. He stayed in the bedroom right next to my parents. And I stayed down in the basement. So we were separated. But, and then I went to college, went down to Winona State. And during my senior year of high school, I had known people that were down at Winona State. So I convinced my mom that I should go down there some weekends just to make friends, learn the atmosphere, really get to know people, maybe attend some classes with my friends.
Of course.
So, and she was like, yeah, that's a great idea. You know, get fully immersed in it. Cause you know, you're going to be
college.
This is college. You're going to be a doctor one day. Cause I truly was like, I'm going to be a doctor. And I want the professors to know who I am before I even have the class. And she bought it. She ate it up. And so I went down there, attended 0 classes, drank all weekend, got to know where I fit in.
Yeah.
And so the people that were down there knew me. Like I was their friend. So freshman year going into college, I had already had a set group of friends. Like it wasn't hard for me. They knew who I was. They knew what I was doing. And
When you say what you were doing, what does that mean?
drinking and having extracurricular activities,
Such as?
drugs.
Okay.
Yeah. At that time, I had gotten into coke.
Ooh, okay. Thank you. I'm like, we're not just talking about weed here, right?
No.
We're okay. Just want to make sure.
No, I am not just talking about weed.
Okay.
I am pro advocate for
Well, yeah. Who gives a shit? It's a plant.
the marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gotten into cocaine. And when I was down there, I was open to trying anything and everything. My 3 that cause like, during health class, they show you the drug addicts, right? And like, they're like the people with the sores on their faces and stuff. And so I associated, meth, heroin, and crack with those. And those were 3 that I would never touch because I didn't want to be a drug addict.
Oh, okay. The logic is sound. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you first try drugs, like hard drugs,
Yeah.
harder drugs.
I would argue she already had when she was doing opiates.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Scheduled drugs. We'll
Yeah.
classify it in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like at what is going on in your mind? Like, are you like, "Ooh, I shouldn't do this," or
Oh,
was
hell
this
no.
like, "Let's go"?
Oh, it was let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, it was let's go. In my mom's eyes, I could do nothing wrong. And in my sister's eyes, she knew everything I was doing to a T. Like, and she tried telling my mom. And my mom was like, oh, my Payton would never do that. Like,
Yeah.
I had my mom so tightly wrapped around my finger, I could do no wrong. Period. So I got away with a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
And at this point, are you and Jory close, or are you
No.
and Jory like?
I mean, I was 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, and she's
So-
like 25.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like,
You both know everything.
we both know everything.
Yeah.
She wanted nothing to do with me. I wanted nothing to do with her. It was a mutual understanding.
And neither of you are stubborn.
No.
No. You're both very open-minded and
Very-
willing to just
Yes.
yeah.
Embrace each other.
Yeah.
Go into every situation.
With
With
an
an
open
open
heart.
mind.
With
Yeah.
an open heart and open mind. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so you are like doing the activities.
Yeah, so I'm doing me.
Yep.
I have constructed who I'm going to be in my life. As long as I didn't have sores on my face, I'm good.
You weren't a drug addict.
I'm not a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in college. I was dropping classes left and right because they were too challenging. They were at 8 a.m. I had plans the night before that interfered with that 8 a.m. class. And my mom didn't know about any of it. I was just like, yeah, I'm at class. It's going great. College is awesome.
Which to a mom at that point, they're probably like, I'm so glad.
My baby girl, she's doing so well.
She's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And
winter.
does she know at this point? Sorry, I've got to ask
Yeah.
one more question. At this point, does she know about the other things like
No.
the Adderall or any of that?
No.
No. So
She
all of
knows
this,
nothing.
Nothing.
So you've been hiding this for years. At a
Years.
very you think you're Rico Suave at this shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I could get away with the biggest bank robbery in the world at this point.
Right.
How do you afford it?
I would call for cash. Like, call my parents. Like, hey, can I have $20 to get pizza with my friends? My dad, I think I would call him every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it was easy.
Yeah.
Easy. I worked, too. I worked at a bar. So it was pretty easy getting my hands on that.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly with the drugs, I'll be honest, I didn't pay for a lot of my drugs.
Okay.
I never sold my body or anything like that, but I would have relationships with people that I knew had the drugs.
Yep.
So it was pretty easy. I mean, you're a girlfriend of somebody or, you know, a fling with somebody, it's pretty easy to get your hands on it. And then my mom cut me off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I went through $2,500 in a week and a half.
Okay.
So in her mind, something's started
Something's
not
off.
adding up.
Mm-hmm.
Something was off. Payton was partying too much. There was a couple instances I did call her drunk. So something clicked in her brain of like, something's off here. I'm not sure what it is, but no more money.
Mm-hmm.
So then I leaned into my father, Larry, and started calling him for money, for booze. And so I always had a plan of like how I'm going to get it, what I'm going to do, who I'm going to call.
The story I'll tell.
Yeah, I had like a rotation almost of people. And so that's what I did. And then I went home for winter break. My boyfriend came home from Colorado to spend winter break with us. And everything was fine. And then he got a phone call that his grandpa died the day before Christmas, I believe it was. And so we went down to be with his mom and family and stuff like that. And my mom had texted me saying, send me your transcripts for this past semester. I want to make sure that everything is fine. Mom, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I don't have access to those right now. I don't know my password. I don't know how to download it. I'll show you when I get home. Just every roadblock that I could get in there. And eventually I did send them to her, and there was no more discussion about it. There was a few C's on there. I don't think she knew what W meant. There was a lot of
Withdrawn.
Yeah. We never talked about it again. And so winter break goes by. My boyfriend goes back to Colorado. I go back down to Winona. I decided that I was going to take all night classes, because then that way it's once a week for 3 hours and you don't have to wake up in the morning. Like, you can go out after class, you can drink in class. And I decided that I was interested in sociology. So I took 2 sociology classes, and it was both the same professor. She was amazing. And I will never forget, it was St. Patty's Day. And what do college kids do on St. Patty's Day?
Yeah.
Right, just get hammered.
They get hammered. So I had, you know, had some fun earlier in the day. And I figured if I sit front row of her class, she'll never know. So I sat in the front row, and I had a Gatorade bottle and a SpongeBob water bottle with vodka in it. And I
Just transferred one from the other.
transferred one to the other. And she noticed. Oh, did she notice? And I'll never forget, instead of asking me or kicking me out of her class, she, instead of saying, you know, why are you doing this? Why do you think this is okay? She simply asked the question, what is going on? What is going on? And she was an amazing woman. She's passed away now. And she wrote me, this is jumping forward, but I'll rewind, I promise. She wrote me while I was in treatment, sent me cards every week, you know, and her and I stayed in touch. Just make sure everything was okay.
So is she like the first adult that's ever called you out?
Yeah. Well, let me backtrack. There was one weekend I was home, and my purse was upstairs, and it was zipped. And I know it was zipped because I always made sure my purse was not easily, like...
You couldn't, like, sneak in there.
Yeah. And it magically, you guys, fell off the kitchen counter, unzipped itself, and my weed fell out. So.
That was awkward.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
I was sleeping and woken up by my mother. And so she, at that point, knew something was up.
Was this before Christmas break?
No, this was
Okay.
after.
This was after.
Yep, this was right before. I believe it was called Venetia down in Iowa State. They had like a yearly party that they threw, which as a college, I'm just like, why would you throw a weekend long party?
For kids already. Yeah. Yeah. They don't need a reason. We don't need a reason at that age to do stupid stuff.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, it was before that. So she had threatened to start drug testing me because I had her car down at college. So at that point, it was like she went to the extreme, and her extreme was correct. And so she said, I'm going to start drug testing you. You are going, you are not going to drive the car. Just you drive to school, you park it, and period.
And that's it.
And in my mind, I was like, this girl has a GPS on this car. She's going to know if I take it. I was terrified. And so I did, kind of shaping up my act for a little bit there because I was scared my mom was going to drug test me. And I had a spring break trip planned to go see my boyfriend in Colorado. Like, I'm not going to ruin that. Yeah, am I 18 and I can't get grounded? Sure, but, like, it's my mom. She's going to ground me. Like, for those listening, if you know my mom, like, I'm 27 and she would probably still ground me.
I'm surprised she just didn't physically beat your ass.
We got in a couple physical altercations. We did.
I believe that.
Maybe that's not yet.
Yeah, I believe that.
No, that was in high school, my senior
Yeah.
year. We did get in a couple physical altercations, kind of backtracking. And that was before she knew about any abuse. So I was just angry. I didn't know. But back forward to my purse magically falling on the floor and unzipping itself, which my dad totally unzipped, and I know it. But that's okay.
Yeah. It needed to happen.
It's in their house, And so I was scared. And that is when I really learned that I can't control this anymore. I'm in trouble. We had gotten in a fight my mom and I did. And she was like, you're just like your father. And that was something I was like, don't ever freaking say that to me again.
Yeah.
And because that was one person I promised myself I would never become. But I knew I was in trouble. And my sister knew I was in trouble. She knew something was up, and she tried telling my mom, and she tried, calling me out on it in front of family. And I was like, dude, I was just out with friends last night. Like, I'm just tired. That's why I look like this. I was a whopping 105 pounds. Like,
You were strung out constantly.
yeah. I mean, between the drugs, the eating disorders, the drinking, I mean, there was nothing to me anymore. Like, I look back on pictures now and I'm just like, how did we let this happen? Like, I looked in the mirror and I was like, 10 out of 10. No, I was tiny. And all the females in our family are muscular build. I mean, we are muscle people. And I was gone. I was deteriorating.
When did the eating disorder start with all of this?
That started when I was 14.
Okay.
Yep. It started with bulimia because I liked food too much to be like, I'm not going to eat. But I don't like it enough to like not regurgitate it, I guess. And then...
and for people who don't know, bulimia is when you consume the food and then you make yourself throw it up.
Correct. Yep. So it's commonly met with binging and purging. So binging, you eat a ton of food for days in a row, and then you purge it. And then that was met with anorexia. So
then you went the exact opposite way,
Exact
to starving
opposite.
yourself.
don't eat. Don't put anything in your body. And I was a competitive cheerleader at this time in high school too. So it was like the smaller I could be, the better. And that is so misinformed. Like, you don't need to be small. You don't need to shrink yourself. I'm a big advocate for that now. But yeah, so I went to the exact opposite and started starving myself. And my mom could tell. She knew that when I would come up for dinner and just pour myself a cup of coffee and eat an apple, well, the coffee was so it went straight through me, and the apple, you know, so I could get some sugar and not pass out. But that was my day-to-day life. You know, don't eat, tell yourself you're fat, take some drugs, go to bed, wake up, do it all over again. So yeah, going back to spring break, I had that spring break trip planned with, you know, go see my boyfriend. I didn't want to miss that. That's when it hit me. You literally are constantly thinking about this. Like, you can't stop. And in college, I was in a really dark place. I would sleep all day. I actually hung up a blanket on my window so no light could get through. I just, like, I was in a hole. You know, you can't dig yourself out. It was too late.
So how'd you get out?
Do you want me to skip all the way to that?
No?
Okay.
Just curious.
How did I get out?
Yeah.
I overdosed.
Okay.
I'll get to it. So I, in college, remember drinking like bottles of NyQuil and just, I had no relationship with a God at that point. I mean, I grew up and like knew, sure, there's a God up there. I don't know. But I was like, just take me home. I'm done. Just please don't let me wake up tomorrow. Please don't let me wake up tomorrow. Every freaking morning I woke up. Every morning. And I was so angry. And I just kept doing more and more and more.
Yep.
At some point, there's got to be a breaking point, you know? So I go down to Venetia, down at Iowa State. I see my friends that are down there. I have a hell of a weekend. My boyfriend and I at the time got in a massive fight. I said some nasty shit. We had taken a break during college at some point, and I was sleeping with other people, but he wasn't allowed to. And then I found out he did. And that was like earth shattering, you know? How could you ever do this to me? You know, I never betray you. I never do anything wrong to you. Just the victim, gaslighting and just being so unhealthy. And so I remember leaving Venetia. I had to go home that weekend. I don't remember for what, but I went home that weekend. And in the beginning, I told you guys, you know, my mom, sister, and I will get in a fight, but before we leave a room, we tell each other we love each other. Give a hug, you know, I'll see you later. And so I went home that weekend, and my sister was at my mom's house for some reason with Tatum. And I was like,
and Tatum must have been little.
Tatum was very tiny.
Very baby at this time.
Very baby. Like newborn. She was just born, actually. And my boyfriend and I had broken up at that time. So that's, you know, I just wanted to be home. And it was a Monday morning. I woke up, and that whole weekend, my family didn't know that was going to be my last weekend. So that's why I went home. It was going to be my last weekend with them. And I wanted to make good memories. My mom and I went to the farmer's market. We got flowers. You know, my sister and I hung out. And Monday morning I woke up and I thought nobody was home. So I was like, great, I can just go back down to school and I don't have to do this goodbye shit, you know? And my sister was home. And I was like, oh, God damn it. And so I walked up the stairs. I packed up my stuff. And I didn't say goodbye. And that flew my sister off the rails. Like, all of her bells started going, red flags are up. You know, I don't never not say goodbye. I mean, I could be like walking to the mailbox and I'll be like, goodbye, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
I'm going right back.
Yeah, literally, you're not gonna lose line of sight of me. I'm right there.
Like, Caleb will be pulling in the driveway, we'll be on the phone, I'll be like, okay, I love you, goodbye.
And you see him.
And I see him 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
So I don't never not say goodbye. So I was I got out of there quick.
Yeah.
I did not say goodbye. I did not kiss my niece goodbye. I just left.
Yeah.
And that was, that was April 15th. So then April 16th came. It was Tipsy Tuesday. And I went out with friends. And like I said, I had my plan, right?
You knew what you were going to do.
I was going to get drunk, so I had enough balls to swallow all of my pills.
Mm-hmm.
That was my plan. And so I went out with my friends, but I had a final that I needed to attend that Tuesday night. So I left the party, got off the shuttle. My friend Jarek met me off the shuttle, carried me to class. I took the final, and I went back out. So I had my priorities straight.
I don't understand that, but that's okay. Obviously, we're in a different mindset at this point in time.
I think it was, I wanted to meet the expectations of my mom's academic wise, and not taking a final, like, that's just a straight fail. So I had to take the final. Like, I couldn't get myself to not take the final. So I took the final. Failed the final.
But you took it.
But I took it.
Yeah.
So I went back out with my friends. I had them drive me home. None of us were in shape to drive, but who cares at that point? I had done some coke earlier in the night, so I was really going. And I got home to my dorm. I went upstairs, and I used to get really bad migraines at that time, and had seizures because at the time, my family didn't know, my boyfriend didn't know, nobody knew. I was having seizures because I was withdrawing. And the doctors just could not figure it out. Like, this girl, she's having migraines, pseudo seizures. Like, what is going on? We're just going to give her these meds. So that way, if she feels a seizure coming on, she can take one and it will stop it. So I had all these medications stockpiled, really, because I did not take migraine meds. I did not take any medication as scheduled. So I had them stockpiled, and I swallowed every single one of them. And I don't know what came over me at that point, but I had called my best friend at the time, who went to Winona with me, and I told her I effed up. I did something. She was like, what are you talking about? She was back home with her family. I was like, I don't know, but I love you and goodbye. And so she called the RA. The RA came, and next thing I know, there's police and medics, and my body is barfing because it's like, get this out of me. So that was April 16th, 2014. And this is where it gets a little dark, if not darker. I had called my mom earlier that night, and she was like, she's just drunk, she told me to go to bed. And the next call that she got was from my phone, and she thought, oh, she's drunk again. She picked it up, and it was the ER doctor asking if they had her permission to intubate me, because they were going to lose me. And, of course, she said yes. Like, why are you calling me? Just do it. And the ER doctor meant to put the phone on the hook and didn't. And the last thing my mom heard was she's flatlining. And that's, that's something that haunts you as a clean person. My plan was that I was just going to die and be found, and
that's it.
And that's it. Yeah. I wasn't planning on, my mom getting that phone call, or, my best friend at the time getting traumatized by her best friend trying to kill herself. And so they intubated me. Then my Aunt Denise flew into town. And my sister and my aunt Denise were tasked with cleaning out my dorm.
Oh, Lord.
My sister found everything.
I haven't heard this story.
My sister found everything. And there was some girls that were very mean to me freshman year of college that had swung by my dorm, and my sister told them to go F themselves and get the F out of here. So they cleaned out my dorm.
I think you put that nicely. I'm surprised.
Very nice.
I'm surprised Jory didn't go to jail that day.
Thankfully, Aunt Denise was there.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, she would have gone to jail that day.
Yeah. And she would have had some of their teeth in her pocket.
Yeah. Proudly. And so, I was intubated for a few days. Obviously, I don't remember any of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this has been told to me. I am still looking for the ER doctor that intubated me down in Winona. I've searched my health records. I can't find this dude. Like, his name isn't on anything. Because I just want to thank him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, thank you for not giving up on me. And so I was transported up to Abbott Psychiatric Hospital and put on a 72-hour hold there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pissed that I was there. Like, how dare you put me in here with all of these people? No. So I got out of there. That psychiatric doctor had put me on 6 medications. And if you can imagine, there's no possible way that those 6 medications interacted with each other appropriately. But I took them, partially because my mom put them out on the counter every morning. When I got home, my mom had locked up all of the knives. She had locked up anything that I could harm myself with was locked up. Anything that she felt would be a trigger to me was locked up. My meds were in her control. So she did the right thing as a mom responding to that. And we agreed as a family in the psychiatric unit that I would go to treatment. And I was like, oh, God, here we go.
Because at this point, you're not with Janet anymore.
No. Nope. Which sucks. Because part of me feels like, you know, if I would have kept going to see her, maybe I would have been honest with where I was at. But maybe not. Anyway, so my mom and dad, being the people that they are, were not going to send their daughter to a poop hole of a treatment center. Oh, no. My Aunt Denise, she was a character. She was like, you're going to the frickin' Ritz-Carlton of goddamn treatment, and you're sitting here. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I was complaining, and she was like, you have your own balcony. You got a chef. Like, don't even start. And I was like, okay, whatever. I don't get my phone for 30 days. So that was the part that I was like pissed off about.
Yeah, you know, the important things.
Yeah. And so keep in mind, all the friends that I still had from college and high school had no idea what was happening. I fell off the face of the earth for 45 days and didn't respond to anybody. That's literally what they got. And so I went to treatment. Hazelden was amazing. I had Dr. Lee as my psychiatrist, who is one of the top doctors in, I think, the country for addiction medicine. He got my meds sorted out. I got down to 2 medications instead of 6, which was awesome. And I was clean. You know, I was proud of myself. I had 30 days. I had been, quote unquote, honest with my family.
I don't think this means you're clean then.
Oh, no. So, I got out of treatment. Aunt Denise picked me up. My parents were in France, so I got to spend time with Aunt Denise. I started outpatient, and I got myself a treatment boyfriend.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I did.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Nice. Sarah doesn't know what that means. Like I've. All right, please explain.
So I got myself a treatment boyfriend. Treatment boyfriends are typically people that are in treatment with you, and also struggling with staying clean.
Yeah. So now you have two, and they're typically older.
Yeah, he was older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just I know my stuff. All right. So now imagine you have two addicts, because you're once an addict, always an addict. This is what it is, right?
Yep.
Two addicts in a really shitty part of their life.
Yep.
Going through some impossible stuff, and then they find each other.
And do you think it's love?
Did you fall in love? Or were you just like, meh, it is what it is?
I never told him I loved him.
Okay. But then you started enabling each other. I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then you started enabling. It's okay. We'll just this and this. It's fine if we just, and then.
It's fine if we have
You
one beer.
rationalize
It's fine if
everything.
we take one pill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pills are prescribed. You know, they say if they're prescribed, you're supposed to take them as prescribed. Keywords being as prescribed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I got myself a treatment boyfriend. Aunt Denise loved him. She was a fan of him. And I was like, perfect. And at first it was like we encouraged each other to go to meetings. We would go to meetings together. We, stayed on track. And then, oh boy, it was June of 2014. I decided I could not stand living with my parents anymore. We had tried going to therapy together. Always ended up in a physical altercation between my mom and I after therapy. RIP to the therapist that we saw. It was her very first case.
Oh.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
doesn't even sound like it was set up for success.
No.
That person quit later.
Oh, she for sure. And if she didn't, kudos to you, man. But I decided that I was going to go back home and I was going to live with Aunt Denise because
Tampa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was in Orlando at that
Right,
point.
okay.
Yep. But back home, nonetheless. And so, because, my mom didn't understand addiction. She doesn't get it. She doesn't understand, she'll never get it. It was just this freaking sob story.
Yeah.
So Aunt Denise brought me back home. For some reason, if that woman told me to jump 5 feet, I would jump 6 feet. If my mom told me to jump 5 feet, I would be like, no, I'm going to bed.
Not happening, lady.
So I had, it's not that I don't respect my mom. I respect my mom with every ounce of my being.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, it was what Aunt Denise said when.
Mm-hmm.
If my mom said something, it was, you don't get me. So I went back home. And
you're 20, 21?
I would be
maybe 20.
18 still
18?
at this point. Yeah, we haven't fast forwarded it at all with age.
Okay.
I mean, when you think about all of it, and you're at 18.
Yeah. I'm only at 18 at this point, yeah.
Because were you a young freshman?
Yeah. Yep. I was born in June.
Yeah. So you were like, okay.
Yep. So I went back home to live with Aunt Denise. Everything was fabulous. And then one day it wasn't. I had relapsed while I was down there. Actually, before I went down there, I relapsed with my treatment boyfriend, but it was a sip, so it wasn't a relapse. It was.
Totally is. Yeah.
Yeah. It totally 100% is.
This is a pass-fail situation.
Yes,
Yeah.
I failed it.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had gone down to Florida to live there. My treatment boyfriend was so freaking hurt that I left. And he used that as an excuse to really deep dive back in.
Right.
And so one day it just wasn't okay anymore. And I don't know why. But I called my mom and I said, I need to come back to Minnesota. And I think looking back now, that was my higher power being like, if you stay here, it's going to get bad.
It's going to happen again.
It's going to happen again. And so I went back to Minnesota. And then I was like, you know what? I want to go into dental hygiene. So, but I wanted to be independent. I did not want to live with my mom and dad. So I worked at a nursing home. I went to Normandale for school. And I got an apartment with 3 strangers
Excellent.
that knew nothing about my past.
Good plan.
Great plan. Continued drinking and using drugs. They had no idea that I was an alcoholic and addict, that I should not be drinking, that I had severe mental health. They had no clue about any of it. And so it was a perfect scenario for the perfect storm. And it happened again. And so
What's it?
I overdosed again.
Okay.
So the storm
And was that
happened
the
again.
plan to overdose again?
No.
Like the first time there was like
The first time was planned.
planned.
The second time was not. I had gone out to the bars in St. Paul with some friends. At this point, I was not doing cocaine again, because in my mind, that was really the problem. Was you can't do pills, you can't do coke.
Yeah, nothing else. Just nothing else is the problem.
No, it was
Yeah.
just those things.
Those things.
Yes,
Not you, yeah.
correct.
Because it's rational.
Yeah.
We're rationalizing.
And so, but I could do Adderall because like that's pharmaceutical.
It's nothing like cocaine.
No, nothing. It's nothing.
Nothing like meth or anything.
It's
Yeah.
not one molecule off or anything.
No.
For those that don't know, it is.
It's 100%.
It is
Yeah.
one simple molecule off from the meth, like molecules.
Huh.
So
I learned
fun.
Did you know how meth was invented?
no.
Hitler actually invented it in the First World War to give to his soldiers to make them super soldiers, so they wouldn't have to sleep, so they could march for 3, 4, 5 days. And so Hitler actually,
Are you serious?
dead serious. Hitler created meth, and it was rationed out to like his soldiers. Like it was a thing. It was their super pill.
That's crazy. I know they did that with heroin to for those women with hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
God, us women.
Yeah, you're the worst. What?
Nothing.
Just a little meth origin story there for you.
Thank you.
That
You're
was a good
welcome.
one. I did not know that well. And so I was out at the bars. I did some Adderall. I drank a ton. And at that point, I had another treatment boyfriend who was clean. And I called him because I was sitting outside the bar, and I just remember sitting there, and this guy kept talking to me, and he was touching my leg, and he just kept talking and talking. And I just remember calling this fellow that I had a thing with and just pleading for him to come get me. Please come get me. There's this guy talking to me. I don't know what's going on. Please help. And he was there 10 minutes later to get me. I puked all over his car. And then the next thing I remember is my best friend from Winona also lived in the same apartment complex up here in Minneapolis. She had transferred up to the U. Next thing I remember, I was running away from her as fast as I could. I barricaded myself in the bathroom, and I was never one to self-harm. Needles at that point terrified me.
What do you mean self-harm? Like physically self-harm besides like
Yeah.
with a sharp object?
Yeah,
or,
with a sharp object. Yep.
Because I just want to make sure, because obviously you had overdosed, harmed that way, but when we self-harm, we're talking about like
Self-harm,
cutting.
cutting, any inflicting pain purposely.
Yep.
And so I don't, to this day, I don't know why. But I broke my razor and I just went to town. And the next thing I remember is being loaded into an ambulance, screaming, I am DNI, DNR, which is do not resuscitate, do not intubate. Screaming it. If it's not written in a legal document, apparently they don't have to listen to you.
That's good. Obviously, you were not in a proper mental state as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I had apparently taken some stuff that night. I don't remember taking anything besides Adderall. But there was stuff in my system. Like I was back to that flatlining point. I was intubated again. I was on life support again. My mom and dad were down in Florida. They were called and, given this scenario. And at that point, my mom was told by my psychiatrist, don't you dare cancel your trip and go sit next to her. And that was the hardest thing for my mom to do. Because, right, like her baby is on life support again. Like something is going on. And so I woke up alone. And that right there was the point. I was like, I'm either going to die or I'm not. So figure it out. And right now is your chance to choose. And so I was put on the psych ward again. But I had to spend about a week and a half on the medical unit that time because the amount of damage I did to my muscles with what I had taken the night before, I couldn't walk. So I had to relearn a little bit how to work the muscles, get up and running. I had to do all of that. And that also was a wake-up call to me. Because, right, the first overdose, I don't remember being transferred in the back of a cop car. I don't remember any of that. And this time, I remember waking up. I remember being alone. I remember learning how to walk. I remember going to the psych ward. I made friends in the psych ward because who wouldn't? And I got out. Those 3 roommates came and picked me up from the psych ward, and it was time to get honest. And I had called my cousin Owen, who is one of my best friends to this day. He is also clean. And I said, I think I'm ready. And he brought me to that meeting, a meeting that night. And September 18th, 2014, I've been sober.
NA or AA?
AA.
Okay.
I don't know why I never went to NA.
What's the difference?
Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh.
So we, both of our meetings have the same, you know, kind of
tenants or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it basically, what one you vibe with better. It's just all it really is. One's more focused on like narcotics and getting clean from that. One's more focused on alcohol and getting clean from that. But for me with AA, I can interchange the words easily, right? Like, you know, don't take another drink, don't do another line. So I started going to meetings again. I did not go to treatment again. I didn't want to put my parents through that. I mean, that was like $70,000 the first time around. And I blew it. Like I basically held the middle finger up to it and said, not going to do that. Thank you though. So I got clean. I got back together with my boyfriend from high school. I moved out to Colorado.
The one who was in Colorado?
Yeah.
The one who came home for Christmas and his grandfather passed away?
Yes. Okay. Yep. Correct. So I went back out there. I lived with him, and we lived in his mom's house. His mom is an angel from heaven. Like she's amazing. So I lived down there. I was clean and sober. So I had the expectation that everybody else had to be clean and sober in order to be in my life, which is not true. Like that's not, you can't hold that expectation for somebody that doesn't have a problem.
Yep.
And so he would go up to Fort Collins and see his friends and would be a normal 20-year-old. 19, 20-year-old. Yeah. Because we were 19 when I moved out there. So I was just nasty. I was like, you know, you're a piece of shit because you're not clean and almighty like I am. I'm leaving you. So I moved back home.
You were living out of probably a backpack at this time or something, right?
No, I picked up all my shit and I moved it there.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because you're very transient. You moved a lot.
Yeah.
So when you say all my shit, how much of stuff was that?
Anything and everything that could fit in a Volkswagen Bug.
Okay. So so vehicle transient.
Yeah.
Some of my friends, it was a backpack.
Yeah.
Some, maybe had a duffel bag.
It wasn't like I have to move my bed, my nightstand.
No.
Right.
I didn't have that. I mean, it wasn't mine, that stuff was my parents. And so basically going to like the backpack analogy, anything that I could fit in 3 duffels was mine.
Yep.
And that's what I brought with me. Basically all my clothes because I didn't need anything else. So yeah, and then I moved home, home being Minnesota. And when I got here, I heard of the Step Up program, which is a sober collegiate program through Augsburg University. It allows students of any age, literally any age, to live on college campus in sober living, sober dorms.
Wow. Okay.
Have a community of sober people, and go to college.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I had no idea that existed.
Yeah. Yep.
I just got like.
Did you know?
Goosebumps. I did know, but only because of Jory had told me about the program.
Yeah.
But before that, I had never known about it.
Oh wow.
It is amazing. I mean, there's so many of us that wouldn't have been able to get a college degree without them.
Right. I mean, the pressures of addiction and put on top of that being an impressionable young adult.
Yep.
You've made a lot of questionable choices up until this point, and willpower, I don't want to say willpower, that's not the right way to put it, but your ability to self-govern at that point in time without some external forces to keep you on the path is probably pretty
Slim.
low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So they really allowed us to have an atmosphere where we were with other people just like us. They taught us how to have fun again without
substances
using.
And
Don't get me wrong, we had rules. Like there were
Right. Oh yeah.
there were rules that
Some
we
sober
had
house
to follow.
rules type thing, right? Yeah.
And not all of them were followed by myself.
Probably relationship rules.
Yes, you nailed it on the head. So
Yeah.
within the first year, you were not allowed to date anybody within that program.
so
Well-
how long did it take you to have a boyfriend?
2 months.
Even in AA,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to.
Yep. So that it depends who you work with.
I mean, you're doing good,
Yeah.
right? But you're like, you know what? To hell with that part.
This one I can bend.
Which
And
you
and
shouldn't.
and that one is like more because there's people that will like it's called 13 stepping. Will like I don't want to say pray, but will take the young new blood under their wing, in not a healthy way. So part of getting into recovery and being clean is learning you and learning what a healthy relationship is, learning how not to gaslight, manipulate, play woe me,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you may be clean of alcohol and clean of non-prescribed medications or whatever, narcotics at this point in time.
Yeah.
But we're still not necessarily right inside, like emotionally.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's just because you get clean and sober doesn't mean shit magically changes overnight.
Oh, hell no.
No. And this is where you're talking about just because I don't know this program,
Yeah.
but I do know of other programs. And just because you get clean and sober doesn't mean there's still not manipulative people in that same exact program who still have issues with how they interact with people and will take advantage of people.
Oh, that's absolutely correct. Yes. And so I, like you said, being in the program, yeah, you are clean from the neck up, right? Like you don't have anything clouding your judgment anymore. But you still have your own brain.
Yeah.
You don't get to get rid of that.
Yeah. It's kind of there.
It's kind of there forever.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is working through the step work. You're able to figure out your part in it, because when you're using, it's everybody else that is doing wrong. You are doing no wrong. And so one of the steps specifically allows us to write down all the resentments we have, right? So like, I'm mad at everybody.
Is that step 4?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. So step 4 allows us to write out all of our resentments. But then we get to write out our part in it.
Yeah.
Which really allows us to bring peace within ourselves. And then step 8 and 9, you figure out what kind of amends you're going to make for that situation. And it's not like you work the step once and you're done for good.
Right.
I actually just did a 9th step 2 weekends ago where I made amends for a situation. So it's constant. It's teaching you how to constantly be self-aware is what I like to say. And righting those wrongs as soon as you possibly can. Sometimes that's right away. Sometimes it's 2 years. But yeah, so, I mean, the step work allows you to really figure out yourself. However, mental health is still a thing. Yeah. A lot of us struggle with it. I specifically I'm very open book. I still have really bad mental health some days. And I have a fabulous freaking therapist who I love and I can be honest with, who I know won't just put me on a 72-hour hold as soon as I say something. But yeah, the program brought me a lot of peace. Step Up was amazing. Like I said, it took me 2 months to find a boyfriend. Because why be alone?
Right.
When you can go through it together.
Yeah. It sounds good when you say it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good. I mean, he had his own struggles. However, I am a fixer, so I was going to fix it.
Your family has that trait.
Yes, we do. It is a generational curse. In some aspects.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I know what you mean. And those people who are listening who have that trait in their family know also what you mean.
Yeah. Yep. So we were together for just a little bit, like I think it was like 6-7 months, something like that. Watch, he'll text me and be like, "No, it was like 8 months."
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, God.
Yeah.
But we are cordial with each other to this day. His parents live down in Florida. So when the hurricane hit, he texted me, I texted him to make sure everything was okay.
Yeah.
And we had broken up on spring break. We were down at Aunt Denise's house. And something snapped inside of me and I just broke up with him.
Was he there as well?
Yeah.
How did you get home then?
On the same airplane.
Did you change seats?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
Awkward. Yeah.
It was very awkward. Yeah. But I had gotten home and my cousin Owen, who I mentioned before, also went to Step Up, and he was like, I think I should introduce you to some people because clearly your judgment isn't
not the best.
You might need a little more help.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I told him, I was like, I am going to be, this is so inappropriate. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm going to be a hoe for the summer. I'm just going to have fun. I don't want any relationship.
Go test the waters.
Yeah.
I'm going to explore myself. And that was my full intention. And I told him that. And he was like, yeah, okay. And so this is where Caleb comes in.
Get out. I was waiting.
Yeah.
I was waiting.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, and I knew what Will would say. We're not there yet.
Slow your roll.
Yeah. So this is where Caleb comes in. It was his golden birthday, his 23rd birthday. And I was invited to this birthday party. I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go. I have nothing better to do.
And is Caleb friends with Owen?
Yeah. So those two worked together on the grounds crew, which is like this huge thing in our friend group. Like all of the guys worked on grounds crew. all they talk about is grass and plants. It's annoying.
Like at a golf course or like
No, at our college.
The college.
Oh,
At the
at the
grounds
college.
crew.
Yeah, grounds crew.
Yeah.
okay.
And they took pride in their grounds. Like, it was like, you know, the dads with like the New Balances and the tall white socks and like
Yes.
no, but like not
my tall white socks.
no, but not those like not colorful
The
or
white
cool,
The all
but
white
the
ones.
white ones.
The 507s.
Yes.
The ones that my dad wears.
Yes.
And I swear, you guys, I would look out my college dorm window and these guys would just be like standing there, just like
Looking at the grass.
looking at the grass, like, yeah, you know, and just like, I'm just like, oh my God.
And you're like, they're keepers.
they are keepers.
You're like, there's my future husband.
And there was Caleb.
Oh.
And Caleb wore jorts. And when I
no,
say jorts,
he didn't.
Will and Sarah and listeners, I mean cut off, might have been some slippage, jorts.
Nice.
like
Slippage.
they were really short.
Yes.
They were short jorts.
Short jorts. And
Right.
for some reason in my head,
Oh.
I was like, that's the one.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, his reasoning was our college didn't have the budget to give them uniforms, so they had to wear their own clothes, and this was a big, you know, ordeal for them. So Caleb was like, well, if I'm going to wear my own clothes, I'm going to look like an absolute fool.
So he did it on purpose.
He did it on purpose.
Why not?
I mean, he wore short jorts and cutoffs, muscle T cutoffs.
I can't.
It was, I have pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, so went to his birthday party. He was, so Caleb's what we call a normie. Normies are people that can consume alcohol within moderation and not have a problem.
Lose their shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Completely change personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was a normie, so it was his golden birthday. He was intoxicated, to say the least. And he's going to kill me. The first night meeting him, he told me he loved me.
No way.
Yep.
How was that not a red flag? Like,
I chalked it up to you're intoxicated,
okay.
mixing of water.
Yeah.
But not only did he tell me he loved me, he went on this grandiose speech about how you only meet people like this, you know, every once in a while, and people like this don't come around that often. And I'm just like, Owen, who did you introduce me to? Because this right here is a no. So, and I had a nanny the next morning. So I, you know, was like, have a good night. Have fun mixing in water. We'll talk later. And so, for some reason, I didn't run for the hills. And I kept talking to him.
Yeah.
And then we were talking for a couple weeks, and Easter came along. And I will never forget this. I was with my mom. And I was like, I'm just going to text him, like, Happy Easter. You know, like, have fun with
It's
your
very
family.
like safe.
Yeah. And so I did. And less than 2 minutes later, he texted me back and he said, Happy Easter, man. Happy Easter, man.
Friend zone.
Yeah.
Oh. So
Yeah. So I was bummed. I was like, dang, I thought this was going down. Like, once again, I was just trying to have a fun summer. But like, I was interested in him being a part of that fun summer.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, well, you know, he just doesn't dig your chili. Like, time to move on. I was like,
doesn't
yeah,
dig your chili.
you're right. And so I moved on and I texted Owen and I was like, hey, I just got friend zoned, just to let you know, like, Caleb doesn't think I'm cool. I don't know. Turns out he has a friend from high school who's named Payton. And we were both Payton in his phone. And so when I texted him, Happy Easter, have a great day,
I thought it was his boy.
he thought it was his guy.
Yeah.
So he texted back and said, Happy Easter, man. And I have met this Payton, so he is real.
Okay, it wasn't some bullshit.
It wasn't some bullshit. He is real. And as soon as he realized he did that, he texted Owen and was like, man, I just screwed up. Like, it's done. I lost my chance. Owen just started dying laughing. And so I didn't know Caleb was over at Owen's house, apartment, because we're still at Step Up at this point. And they all had different apartments and flats. So flats, you lived with like 20 to 25 other people. You each had your own room, but shared a bathroom with one other person. And then apartments, you lived with 3 other people. And so I walked into Owen's flat. I had a dog at the time that my ex and I had gotten together.
Of course you did.
So, because that's rational.
Tons of fantastic decisions.
I told you, you can be clean, but your decision making is still not on point.
Yeah.
So I walked into Owen's and there was Caleb, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys want to bring Sasha on a walk?" And Owen was like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And Caleb was like, "Yeah, do you mind if I come?" I was like, "No, I don't care. Sure." You friend zoned me. Don't talk to me. And so we were walking down the stairs with Sasha, and we were on our way on our walk, and Owen says, "Oh shit, I have to go do homework."
Get out.
Oh shit, I have to go do homework. Yeah. And so he turned around and walked back into the apartment building. What am I gonna do? Like, not go on a walk with this dude? Like,
Oh, just kidding. I don't. Yeah. Meh. Yeah.
yeah. So we went on like a 3-hour walk together with my dog. And he asked me out
3 hours?
3 hours. I mean, it's down at Augsburg, so it's like down by the river.
Still, that's excessive. No, thank you.
It was a nice day.
I don't think you've ever gone on a 3-hour walk with me, Will.
No, hell no. No. No, man. Hell no, man.
Okay, so then
I mean, he's hook, line, and sinker, dude. Like, he doesn't have to go on a 3-hour walk.
I knew I loved Will the first day I met him.
Well, clearly Caleb.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not scary to me at all.
No.
So yeah, we go on this walk. He asked me out on a date to go to a concert down at Pantages Theater, and I was like, "Oh, I have to check my schedule, make sure I don't have to work
Or have homework.
or like have to go hang out with family for Easter. I don't know." So
Man.
yeah. And ever since, I mean, we've been inseparable. We went to that concert. It was the day after Prince died. So there was a lot of stuff going on downtown, which was really cool. And yeah, now we're married. We have 2 kids, 2 dogs, a beautiful house thanks to the Huffmans helping us. If you need a real estate agent, these are your people.
Nice.
Got the plug. Okay, can I ask a few questions?
Yeah,
and then we
ask
should
away.
probably wrap up. Too.
Yeah.
You've been clean. Tell me if I'm using the wrong words. You've been clean and sober for 8 years?
Correct?
And have you ever in those 8 years felt the desire to go back?
Yes.
So it is a
I'd
daily.
imagine so quite often.
Yeah.
It's a daily commitment.
Yeah. I have to wake up every single day. And make the decision whether or not I want Bailey's in my coffee. And thankfully, I have a husband who 1,000% supports me, never has pressured me, never has asked me. But yeah, I mean, there are those days. I'll be very frank and honest with you. Just this past winter, I didn't have a plan to commit suicide, but I knew that I could have, and that it would have been easier for me. I had convinced myself it would have been easier for Caleb. It would have been easier for the kids, rather than having mommy so sad all the time. Thankfully, I have an awesome therapist. I got a safety plan in place. We got all of the narcotics out of the house. And then that was right around the time that we decided that we should sell the house. So yeah, I mean, there are days, I'm not going to lie to any listener, if you are going through it, keep going. The end does not have to be today or tomorrow. There are so many resources out there for people who need help. And I have learned to just listen and shut up. That's the hard part. And there are days, I will be honest, there's never been a day where I'm like, ooh, I could go for some Coke or Adderall right now. Not once. But when Paisley was first born, I wondered what it would be like, going over to her friend's house and the parents offering me a glass of wine and being like, no, I'm good. You know, would it be easier just to accept a glass of wine? But honestly, I don't ever want my kids to have to see mommy in that state. I'm not even willing to risk it. I've worked through my trauma. I'm still working through my trauma that I've experienced. And it doesn't, like, I don't need to test that water. You know, I know it's pretty cold. I've lost people from overdoses ever since I got clean. I lost my sister-in-law to a heroin overdose. And it's like, you know, Paisley's already lost her auntie. Does she really need to lose her mom? So, not every day is sunshine and rainbows, but I can tell you that my worst day sober is better than my best day using.
And then when you start feeling this stuff creep up, do you recognize it quicker now, or just, I'm asking this because I don't know, you know, I don't know what that is like.
I would say I recognize it quicker now than I did when I first got clean, obviously. Now I recognize it if I start getting really irritable, because I'm not an irritable person. So if I start getting really ticked off by just like the simplest thing, I know something's up.
Okay.
And something's coming. So a lot of it entails me telling on myself. And I tell on myself to my therapist. I tell on myself to my best friend. When I lost my job in June, the company I was with laid off. When I say mass, I mean a mass amount of people. That was really the first time where I was like, yeah, can't do it. And I called my best friend, and I just told him myself, just straight up told him myself. And thankfully I have a best friend that is also sober. So she was able to understand and know where I was coming from, and didn't let me be alone. But there's still times, you know, I would be lying if I told you my mom never had to worry that, you know, something's going on. 'Cause there's times where she does worry and she does check in. And when I become impulsive, that's also another cue for me.
Signs. Yep.
Impulsive decision making is a cue to my family and friends that Payton's about to go. So if we can stop it before it happens, that's key. Yeah.
Well, I just know that you're going to touch other people's lives by hearing your story today, because it's like knowing you and knowing that there was a story, but not knowing what the story was. Like, I just look at you with like such, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like, the person I see across the table. Oh,
thank you. My mom tells me that all the time.
Yeah, and like just hearing your story and like what you've gone through, it's not. It would be so easy to choose these other paths because it didn't start like, it's been how long? You know, like age 10, age 11. Like, this isn't. It's just really heavy, but it's like also so beautiful to see you where you are. You know, it's like the journey that you've been on has been shitty, right? But there's been so many blessings on that path that I although I don't connect with because that wasn't my path, like, it's just, I just see you as like so brave, and I'm just like so proud to have you in my life.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a journey. I'm not going to lie, but I'm fucking proud of myself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No worries.
There's so many things I'm doing with my life that are like, for any individual that knew me when I was down Winona, if you told me that I was more fun while I was drunk, go fuck yourself. Because, or any individual who was like, nah, she's not going to stay sober. She can't do it. Yeah, I can do it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Those people give me motivation to stay clean.
Anything I know about your family, when you guys have your mindset to something.
Yeah. Not stubborn at all.
I mean, yeah, my shout out for anybody that's listening to this that knows somebody that's struggling, or even if you're struggling yourself, don't be afraid to ask questions. Try to understand where they're coming from. Phrase the question with what instead of why. because they probably don't know why, but they can probably tell you what's going on.
If you were in that dark, not you, but just if a listener is in that dark place and they're like, I've gone too far, like where do they call?
So there's a few things. If you are having mental health crisis, the state or the country, I think it's the country, just launched 988, which is the National Suicide Prevention Line. They will help you through your crisis, get a crisis team out to you if you need it. If you want it, they will get somebody out to you. So 988. If you are struggling with substance use disorder, here in Minneapolis, you can go to aaminneapolis.org. There are meetings 24 hours a day. And every single one of those meetings, you will run into somebody that will greet you with open arms. There's coffee typically. So, I mean, at least you got that. If you know me, come to me. And if you know somebody that's struggling, my key to you is if they tell on themselves, you have 3 hours to help them before they talk themselves out of it. That's like scientifically statistics right there. If you know, I know a lot of nonprofits that are working. Change the Outcome is created by my dear friend who passed away from a heroin overdose. His mom started this nonprofit. She helps bring education materials into school systems and to teach kids that it's okay to call the cops. It's okay to give Narcan. The phrase "just say no" is not a thing anymore, unfortunately. So there's resources out there, and you can go to any pharmacy and get Narcan. And in my opinion, everybody should have access to it.
All right. Woofta. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming with us today. Super duper appreciate it. It's a hell of a story, and you're still in the first couple chapters.
Yeah. I'm only 27.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just aged a couple of years listening to your story.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Like it's all good. Like it's just how powerful and impactful that is. So thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate it so much. And as always, we out. Deuces.
Deuces.